AAA, the corporate engines of game creation. Ones that leverage the promises of prestige, creative freedom, and money to hoard the best talent. Though it seems more and more that that's only to waste their time, burn them out, and spit them out. It's the worst of gaming, a fire that runs rampant, but, like in nature, a fire that may indeed be good for the ecosystem. The incursion of big tech. It makes sense in paper. Huge firms like Amazon and Google seeking to leverage their technology, their talent, and their cash to build a big, genuine gaming presence. Of course, the problem is big tech's obsession with everything happening, well, yesterday, right? Sustainable organic growth is not their strategy. Launching minimum viable products and then throwing money at problems, that's the kind of things they do. And in a gaming context, it means that Amazon and Google have succeeded at gobbling up talent, wasting their time, and little else. Google is egregious. Stadia's explosive announcement and premature release was comical to watch for many core gamers like myself. The only real hope was the formation of several internal studios that would pump out best-in-class Stadia games, ones that actually made the most of Google's tech stack. And to do this, they snapped up top leadership talent like the Ubisoft EA vet Jade Raymond, Shannon Studstill of Sony Santa Monica, and others. And of course, that's not to mention the legions and legions of veteran game developers. All Google accomplished is uprooting talent and wasting their damn time. And all that does is mean that there are fewer people working on games that will actually release. And that is bad for us, because years of time working was lost. And for a window into their ineptitude, Google purchased the devs of Journey to the Savage Planet. Their game came out, then Google stopped internal development, locking the developers out of their own damn game. And that meant that for a while, it was plagued by bugs that nobody had the authorization to fix. Stellar work, Google. Jade's story, I think, captures the AAA void. From a sparkling career helping to create Assassin's Creed, to founding Ubisoft's Toronto studio and EA Motive, to becoming head of Stadia Games and Entertainment, Google seemingly had her just do nothing that would lead to anything that would matter to consumers for a few years, wasting a bunch of time, and then, of course, she either left or was kicked out, along with, everybody else that they lured into this damn escapade. It's pretty obvious then why her new studio, which is Sony-backed, says that they want to make games without any barriers or impediments. Of course, Amazon are not much better, having cocked up just about everything they've tried. The difference is that it still feels like the bulk of Amazon's failures are ahead of them, while Stadia is just barely hanging on. What I said about Amazon there could be taken as a good way, because it does mean they're still in the game, and New World does show promise. Though, of course, that's all came at the cost of them snapping up talent and throwing that talent into the Amazon blender. They've been doing a lot of things for a long time with barely anything to show. I mean, there's a Command & Conquer veteran who ended up being in the studio that did Crucible. Crucible, the game that they had to unlaunch. But at least they're not pulling a Google and wussing out. No, they're doubling down, for better or worse. Amazon Montreal, the AAA shooter studio packed with senior and director-level Rainbow Six Siege developers, is their latest move. Will it be another big tech meat grinder, one that wastes the time of talent and deprives us of potential games? Only time will tell. There's two ways it could go with Amazon. There is the thing we would expect, given their track record. But if New World is vaguely successful, if the Lord of the Rings MMO builds upon that, and if these Rainbow Six Siege developers are actually allowed to work their magic free from interference, then maybe Amazon could actually see some success. Where Google, well, it's not even that Google saw failure, it's that they maybe saw it on the horizon and they wussed out. They did not have the courage of their convictions, something that makes Mr. Harrison's launch of Stadia and the big glitzy event and the vision seem thoroughly embarrassing and, more importantly, pretty much fake. Because if Google actually meant those words, they wouldn't have pulled out. Crunch! Alright, do you remember this moment from E3 2019.
We are making a new kind of action-adventure game. It's spooky.
That is Ikumi Nakamura, and she was about to quit. She joined Tango Gameworks in 2010, lending her talents to Evil Within, its sequel, and she was the creative director on Ghostwire Tokyo. Then, shortly after that E3 moment, she departed, under mysterious circumstances. Jump forward to now. She has announced her new studio. She is a fan of the occult, and her game is going to be full of dark jokes. Sounds awesome, but why did she leave Tango? Especially when she was creative director. Well, she revealed that crunch is to blame. She struggled for some time with illness brought on by overworking and eventually took the decision to quit before it was too late. Now, I'm thrilled that this ex-Tango dev who also worked on Okami, Bayonetta, and Scalebound is back in the scene. But it's another example of top talent that our industry almost lost. And speaking of crunch, Naughty Dog. They are notorious for it. No wonder, then, they've been publicly hemorrhaging talent for the last year or so following The Last of Us Part 2's release. There were lots of reports of big crunch going on in and around the release of The Last of Us Part 2. Jason Schreier's report was, of course, the most damning one, saying that 70% of non-lead designers credited in 2016's Uncharted 4 were no longer with the company. And that's just bonkers. So Naughty Dog, another studio that can leverage their prestige within the industry to attract talent and grind them into dust. Of course, that is but two examples of crunch. As you know, there are many more. Corporate bullshit. So, creative burnout is inevitable, right? It can hit all of us. But AAA life seems like a pressure cooker. Take Mike Laidlaw. 14 years overseeing BioWare's Dragon Age, serving as lead designer and then creative director. Essentially, one of the public faces of the franchise. And with the big new Dragon Age in the way, it was surprising when he joined Ubisoft in 2018. And even more surprising when he left just 1 year later. Enter Serge, the former creative officer of Ubisoft. A man who had ungodly internal power, being able to cancel projects at a whim. Laidlaw's new project, Avalon, was set to be a grand, big-budget Arthurian adventure, until Serge killed it. Why? Well, he didn't like the fantasy setting. He said it couldn't be better than Tolkien. That was the bar. Because it wasn't, in his mind, he killed it. He, of course, then had to leave the company because of a humongous amount of internal harassment complaints. For it turned out, well, he was just a massive arsehole. A massive arsehole in a position of power, one that, as you can see, wasted Laidlaw's time and the time of his team, and denied us that big Arthurian adventure. No doubt those who have been in the corporate world know what it's like to have their boss's boss, well, be a bit of a twat and not really understand things. This is what it does in gaming, and it hurts the products we get at the end of the day. Laidlaw now actually leads Yellow Brick Studios alongside a team of industry veterans. Unveiled back in November, Yellow Brick wants to be a smaller, talented team where people come first. Well, after a long stint at BioWare with their BioWare magic, and that story at Ubisoft, you have to wonder what inspired that line of thinking. The problem with large-scale gaming outfits like Ubisoft and EA is that they can be a breeding ground for any combination of the issues we've discussed today. Activision Blizzard are another prime example. They are currently shredding talent at an alarming rate, and that talent is setting up shop elsewhere. Blizzard killed Team 1, the RTS team. So, StarCraft veterans Tim Morton and Tim Campbell founded Frost Giant Studios, a group packed with ex-Blizzard talent that recently got a big funding round. And then there's Dreamhaven, of course. New gaming adventure established by Mike and Amy Morheim, who left Blizzard in 2018, and from what I understand, started their new company pretty much right when their non-competes expired. And that company, Dreamhaven, is packed with ex-Blizzard people. Hell, they just got Omar Gonzalez, big veteran of Blizzard, and one who's considered to be the father of WoW Classic. Ouch. And that's not even counting the droves of staff who left for Riot, who offered better benefits and more pay, and other ex-Blizzard companies, like Second Dinner. This is bound to happen across the industry, of course, but with reports of low morale at Blizzard being aplenty, it is no surprise. It makes me think, if only we had access to an internal staff churn league table, just to see what companies are actually the best at retaining their talent. Bit of a grim video, eh? It's difficult to know how to feel about this, because on one hand it is severely troubling that this industry is plagued with so many damn issues, and that we're losing staff to other industries that can pay better. But remember, for every individual we mention today, there are countless more people languishing in the AAA machine. This is the video version of Great Man History, you know, focusing on the big names that we know, because that is what we know, and we don't know the smaller stories. So remember, there are countless staff who are clocking in every day and experiencing these problems. On the other hand, it's encouraging to see so many high-profile AAA talent establishing new indie studios outside of the usual AAA trappings. And it's obvious that they all have a common theme of treating people well and creative freedom. And more, I think of the role that fires play in the health of many stable ecosystems, where destructive and ravaging fires can actually be natural and healthy, clearing room for new growth, clearing the top layers of soil, releasing nutrients into that soil to aid new growth. And here we see AAA burn through talent. And 20 years ago, that might have been disastrous. But nowadays, off-the-shelf game engines are cheap and fantastic. Finding the fun in a game prototype is cheap and fast, more than ever before. All we've talked about today is AAA's loss, but it might not be our loss, because many of the best and the brightest are now going it their own. That's the type of fresh creativity that led to the games and forged the genres that inspired so many of us and led us to the point where we are now. I think the future is more hopeful than we think. We just need to be willing to look past big marketing budgets and actually find the quality. So there you go. You know what? So much AAA, fuck him. But the good news is, we might not lose out in the long run. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. If you would like to support our team, then you can hit up the Patreon, where you can get some pretty damn cool loot. And, well, stay tuned to next week, because we've got announcements. That's it for me. I will see you next time.